Douglas, I notice that, I mean, when I look here, I simply see this absence, this emptiness, this space, if you like. I do wonder, but when I do feel something here, you see. And, I mean, I may not see, in a sense, my head, but I do feel something here. And so I'm not sure this jibes. And when I look in a mirror, I see my image, and if I put my hand up here and I touch here, that hand comes up in the mirror and touches a head. Now, how does that turn out? How does that jive?
I think it's terribly important and fascinating field of investigation. What is here? If there isn't, I think we could agree, couldn't we, that there's no colored object here, no opaque thing here, no colored object, no recognizable Douglas features here, or in your case, Sean features there, but there is a lot of feeling going on there, a lot of touch stuff. But there also the taste of cucumber sandwiches there, and occasional headache there, and a tickle and an ache, and I mean, there are all sorts of things, and thoughts seem to come arise somewhere in that region. It's very busy, and part of the business in this place is all this stuff here, the touching stuff. But you see, this world that you are, which is very, shall we say, inclusive of this, and this is a very central region, comparatively central region in your universe. This is very rich. But are you in a box there? Is this not a place of extremely varied sensations and so on? And certainly you have a lot of touch here. But could we do an experiment about this? And well, I think what we could do, all four of us, you and Maureen, Sean and Douglas, we'd all do it, and really sincerely try and build a home here, a place here. And the funny old thing to do, but we'll start with a roof, shall we? And really get the kind of, we have to work on this and get the thatch going, you know, tiles or thatch. And we build this stuff here if we can. And then we work, could we continue doing this? Maureen, could we work at this? We please do. Have a real sincere go at this. And we come down here and work down the building. Well, what's happened to the roof now, you see? I don't know, my roof seemed to have blown off. Yes. And it's very hard. You say, well, we've got a head here, let's try and build the thing. And then having built it, move in. It's kind of hard to build. So never mind, we can't build it, let's move in. So let's hold our ears, shall we? Would you mind doing that? Hold our ears. Of course, I'm calling them ears provisionally because they're not pink or ear-shaped, are they? Now, well, they're not ears, really. They're just sensation. We'll call them ears by courtesy. Well, now, on present evidence, what you've got between your ears. Now, I don't know about you, but I've got a gentleman and a lady between my ears. And a lot of other stuff, too. In the studio and so on. And between my ears, now that's a very strange situation, very interesting situation. And I can go out, I think, and you know, the roof of this place at night, and I can get perhaps 1 million stars between my ears. And we can build, yes, we can build anything we like here in the way of, in imagination we're helped out by touch. Or another way of doing it, very honest about this and not cheat, is very important. I mean, in a way, I could say I have the look of my face there, Douglas's face there in the mirror. I have the look of it there, which is recognizably Douglas. And I have the feel here, but this is not a Douglas feel. and it isn't opaque, and it isn't, I mean, it is just tickles and, you know, little sensations here.
Sequence of sensations.
But I try and touch that face, you see, and I can't. It's all smooth, isn't it? Behind glass. I'm talking about in the mirror. That's smooth. This one's a rough, very rough country. It's kind of rough old face or head here. And how big is it? I mean, how big is it? It's really big enough to contain the world. So we're not denying that we can't have a lovely old rough thing here, you know, with all these things in it. But does it put us in a box? Does it confine us? Or does it leave us wide, wide open to the whole world? You know? And I like to think of this as God, you know, humans got a low face behind glass. God's got a rough old, hairy kind of, you know, gentleman here or lady. And I love that. It's kind of, what is the nice? Well, why deny anything? Why not enjoy having a little bit of kind of, you know, stuff going on?
Happening, so to speak.
Yes.
Happening in space here.
Yes.
Douglas, what strikes me is when you were doing the tube exercise, that you were inviting people to notice the contrast between the near end and the far end, and that's what's striking me now. Because when I do this, right, there is no, it's like no sense of distance or anything here. But as I look over at you, you're very definitely holding what I would call two ears, and I can see that you have built something, and it's a total contrast.
Total contrast.
Looking over there at you versus what I'm experiencing over here.
Yeah. I think this roughness here, I'm thinking of some line of William Butler Yeats, wasn't it? About a rough beast going to Jerusalem to be born, the rough beast. And I think, oh, I know, this is like in Jerusalem to be born as the great container of the world. I think, I don't know, God has such a sense of humor and kind of split the feel stuff from the, this one's smooth, I can't touch that face. This one I touch, there's no face, and I can't touch that face. Very odd.
Yes.
But it leaves us, this leaves, I mean, it's a good thing to do this, but you come home. And it's a good ticket for coming home.
Well, I also noticed that I just take those feelings of it's really the same in this body. That the feelings that I have, that I so-called in my body, they're also really contained in the same space.
Yes, they are.
This whole body and everything that goes on with it is really part of the happening in this space here.
And we're not concerned with changing anything, we're concerned with having a look and being honest. And as Maureen was saying, that it's not a matter of emotion or feelings or understanding, it's a case of direct perception. And that's where the blessing lies. A blessing lies in God's given world before we start mucking about with it. Yes. But how do we live this is a big question.
Yeah, I was going to put that to really Douglas. This is obviously, I mean, it's very radical, really, to come and just be with the facts like this. But I was wondering about, you know, living it and the implications and how this turns out perhaps over time. To see it is very sudden and immediate, but perhaps what effect does it have in one's life, and how does one really live from this, in quote, truth? I mean, simple, fundamental truth.
Well, I think you were reminding me that we do it when we're interested and when we can't avoid it, when it fascinates us. We do what we desire very profoundly to do. We live this because we want to live from the truth. We're fascinated by this problem, this opportunity of being authentic and finding here the treasure that the great one says is here lurking. And we have a go because we've happened, because we have the opportunity, because we know where to look, we know when to look, how to look. We know where to look here, when to look, which is right there in the spirit of a little child, and take what we get. And there we find, I think, the promised blessing. In the tube there we found that, gosh, what awesome blessing lies right where we are. And if we're fascinated by it, we will come back, and we will come back. So I see the whole endeavor of my life would be, first of all, to see the truth, which we've all done, which is perfectly obvious, isn't it? See the truth, which is that we're busted wide open. The second thing is to, on any ticket, for any reason, keep coming back to the place we never left, coming home to the immensity, and until it becomes second nature. In fact, it is being natural. It's stopping hallucinating. It's not doing anything funny or special. It's just simply being natural, isn't it? I mean,
it's our first nature.
It's our first nature. And this is not about being a funny old spiritual person, all that jazz. It's simply about being ordinary, loving, natural people who are not lying about what's the case. That's what it's about. And the third one, first one, seeing it, which we all have done, a bit of cake, nothing more obvious. Second one is to keep coming back to this natural, to be natural. And the third one is, what am I going to put my money on? What do I rely on in my life? Do I rely on the little guy at the far end, or at the mirror there, in the mirror, little Douglas, or do I rely on the one here who in the tube? And in our experience, if we keep coming back and looking, we shall find it is the one source of awareness behind the world. Do I rely on that? And this is the one who creates itself for no reason and with no help, and thereafter creates countless universes in good working order. This is the one. Now, can I not rely on this one to guide my life? And I say, let's have a go. Let's test.
Well, perhaps, Douglas, it strikes me that learning to trust, so to speak, is, at least in my experience, it's a matter of testing something. I think we come to trust something because we, first of all, take a chance to test it, and if it, it turns out okay, we will try a second time, and a third time, and so on. And as we try more and more times, if it's reliable and it can be counted on, then we come to trust it. And I might suggest that we do the same with this, that we, in various situations in life and in various conditions, that we perhaps come to this and try it out, test it.
Yes.
Test it to the nth degree, really.
Nth degree. And one very important point we must make here is that we're not trusting it to give us what we currently fancy. We're trusting it to give us what we deeply, profoundly need, and that's different. And it doesn't give you what you want. I mean, what is given to some people is, really it has. It's been given, crucifixion has been given. And other not such pleasant, I say, payoff from this. This is not getting what you want. It's wanting what you get. And that seems very supine and very unadventurous and so on, rather feeble thing, but it isn't, Because I think that when we live from the truth of who we are and stay centered, we shall find that what we really want is what we really get. And that the mercy and the blessing flooding us when we tell the truth, flooding us, built for loving for a start, built immortal, because there's nothing here to die. I mean, everything the heart could desire, plus everything else, is available now. And come on,
Well, you know, Douglas,
test it, as you
you know,
say.
when I, again, look at perhaps my life, I see that, you know, the fundamental things that I want in my life, really, if I trace all of my so-called desires back to what I really want from having the new house or this or that or a relationship, when I trace it all back, it really comes back to I want love and intimacy. I want a sense of utter freedom, not being limited and bounded.
And adventure, really,
And
also.
a sense of adventure and a sense of power. And of course, I mean, the thing is that all of that is only given ultimately and totally by coming back here. That, in fact, those desires that I think I want are really desires that haven't just gone far enough. Really. And when I go right to the nth degree with them, I find out that only this can.
That's right. Yes.
But that's perhaps a longer process, isn't it, Douglas?
Yes.
The seeing of it is instant.
Well, where do we find this much talked of unconditional love? Where do we find this much talked of wealth and ownership, so that all things are ours, possession, you know? Where do we find that? I think we find it always here, don't we, at the near end of the tube, whatever, and there we really have our heart's desire. So I say, stay with who we really, really are, and it gives us our deepest heart's desire. And it means that it is not cutting ourselves off from the world, it's total involvement in the world. Because if I put something here, I'm keeping the world out, saying keep out, keep out. But if I see I'm busted wide open, I'm totally involved in the world, and it's my world. And the hurt of the world is my hurt. It's not a way of distancing oneself from hurt or the world, and so quite the reverse.
Douglas, that brings up something for me that whole issue of the feeling, like we talked before about sensation. How does like really strong feelings like you know, being confused or being frustrated or those kinds of things that very often come up in relationships, in taking on the world, do those not distract somewhat from being able to see, or how can we balance out that, put it in a perspective of some sort? Because those, you know, I want to say, well, those are me, having those feelings, and yet my sense is when I have those things that it's hard for me to look back this way.
Yes, they divert us from the truth.
Sean, you know, my sense is that you've been practicing this for a while, and you have journeyed there somewhat. What would you have to say?
Well, I don't know what you find, Maureen, but I find the most skillful thing really is to not directly work on the feelings, because it's a temporary relief I might get by adjusting my feelings, by being very aware of them and accepting them and so on. That's quite important. But I'd say leaving them alone for the moment, being very aware of them, very awake to them, not denying them, and not fighting them. That's very important. Taking them on board and being space for them, saying yes to those feelings, not no. And if I'm depressed, well, I'm depressed, you see, and go into it and through to the space here, which is at the bottom of the debate, which is the lowest place of all. This is a valley experience, isn't it? It's not a peak experience, it's a valley experience. And when we go down to the depths, because that's where we are, that's where we are, firmly wedged in the valley, really. We go down there through these experiences you're talking about to a place where they bottom out. And I think the place where they bottom out is the place where you're space for them. It's the end of the world. and the very amusing thing is, you see, that there is an actual location of this. I mean, this is not pious talk merely. There is the end of the world. And where is the end of the world? In here. And all this stuff really discharges and bottoms out here. And so this is like a drainage system, isn't it? Like a sump, you see. And in coming back here, one descends into kind of hell, really, of feeling and all that stuff you mentioned. And you go through to the clarity here. And this is marvelously put in Dante's Inferno, where Dante and Virgil are going deeper and deeper into hell, got worse and worse, all these nasty feelings, all these things, and they couldn't climb out. And Virgil said, no, you can't get out, it's too difficult, you can't get out of hell. So what you have to do is go through. And then when they get to the very, very pit of hell, you think of the worst possible place, here they bottom out and they find a creep way through in that wonderful poem, through, as Dante says, to the wide heaven and the beautiful stars. Through the pit, from the pit of hell, right through. And so when we do this coming in here, it is really, it's kind of death, and it's acceptance of all the negativity, isn't it? And we come through. And it's not for believing, it's for testing. And I think the great thing is not to say no, but to say yes.
But Douglas, it seems to me, you know, the instructions that we have gone by in this whole workshop, really, have been to, if you like, examine something and see it like it is. Don't try to change anything or imagine anything.
That's right.
Or change anything.
Yeah.
But to be with it. It seems to me we're talking in a way, a kind of two-way attention here. The attention in this direction reveals nothing.
Yeah.
Space. And if there are, if you like, heavy feelings or heavy of heart, as you said, as it's coming down here, then the attention to those feelings is also perhaps equally objective. It's just, this is the facts.
Yes.
I'm not going to try to change them or alter them, but simply to, if you like, go right into it and say, yes, these feelings are here, and then they do seem to come, take this journey. And we become perhaps literally very heavy of heart. But in examining in the same way those as we're examining this, they do seem to just come and lead us right back to the same condition.
And the key throughout is the truth, not nice feelings.
Without an attempt to change it.
That's right. That's right.
Kind of naming in a sense?
Just, this is it, yeah.
Yes.
I think a naming of just,
Yes.
yes, right. Not no.
That's right. Yes.
And that does seem to, in the heaviest of times, if you like, and when emotions get very deep and very, you know, persistent and all of that, it does seem to allow, there's almost a natural process.
Yes.
Feelings coming and going away.
Yes.
Right.
So, Maureen, these problems we have are, you say, and rightly, do tend to obstruct our vision of who we are. But they also are roots through to who we are.
Bring us back.
They take us back. And so I say that I guess you have problems in your life, and thank God for those problems. And I certainly have problems, and I think Maureen and Sean do, and they can be obstruct what we're talking about, or they can lead us to the place which is free of problems. Because who you really, really, really are, the center of clarity here, is the eye of the cyclone, the eye of the storm, the stillness at the heart of the world. And there is a total peace at the heart of things. And we arrive at that place through storm. And if we don't have problems, I mean, I mean, of course, everybody has problems, and I think we can say they're for riding home on.
Mm-hmm. And seeing this, I think it's something that I have worked with a lot and found out, Douglas, that seeing this, seeing the truth of what I am, there's no sense trying to do that in order to change my life.
No.
To make it better in any way.
No.
It really is being with the truth as it is,
Yes.
without, if you like, a goal in mind.
That's right.
A desire to change things for the better, or produce better feeling, anything like that.
And the funny thing is, when we stop this compulsive urge to change everything, that is the biggest change of all.
Yes.
Acceptance, saying yes to what is happening to us. And de Causard, great man, he said, if we will see in the present moment God's perfect will for us in our situation at this moment, we will find in it all our heart could desire. And that's a big claim. Mm-hmm. It's for testing, isn't it? It's not for believing, for testing.
Testing.
And that comes back to what you were saying earlier about the trust being built up through the testing. And I'm thinking the same thing about the invitation to do the naming and saying yes, that as that becomes a practice, that the trust level of where this leads would then continue to build.
Right. When you begin to see that everything in life has its own time, its own place, and its own movement, so to speak, in this great stillness, that you just come to trust. You come to trust it. And I just really would say, Douglas, that you've told our viewers here not to trust what you say, or what any of us say, but to test it.
Well, of course.
Again and again
Yes.
and again. The other thing I wanted to comment a little bit about, Douglas, was the thing of coming back here and, if you like, re-experiencing this, re-seeing it, each time as, in a sense, as if for the first time.
Yes.
That the memory of this is not it.
No, that's archaeology.
That's right. The memory ain't it.
That's right.
It's seeing it now.
Yes.
And now and now.
Yes. Well, to add a more personal note, I think that what's kept me on the ball, at least coming back and back and back, is curiosity. And I find it such fun, you see. It's not a solemn old thing. And new discoveries. I'm, at 83, I mean, even in this paper bag, which we've just done, you and I did this thing together. I've never done it that way before. And so it's always new things are coming up. And it's so exciting, it's so delightful. And I say discovery, adventure, is the name of the game as far as I'm concerned. And everything comes out differently from what it had been advertised to be, and discovery all along the line. And I find this is great fun. Extraordinary revelations are available once you get to the heart of the matter. It's always new and always coming up with new stuff.
So
and this is so interesting, isn't it?
So it's really a not knowing over and
Well, you
over.
don't know. And then you're in the market for surprise. And adventure, I mean, come on, what adventure compares with this? Can Disneyland offer anything? What can offer it? What? Can Las Vegas offer it? I mean, come on, what's the alternative to this? And especially as it enables us, I think, to find that we can at last experience each other as lovable, and we find where love is and how it works. And that is what's worth all the other stuff put together, isn't it?
It's like living in the delight.
Yes. Also hanging around. I mean, why I hang around Maureen and Sean and a few other people, partly I mean, to enjoy them in all sorts of ways, but I think they're clear friends and dear friends, and they encourage me to keep centered. So I think the skillful thing is to hang around people that are looking to see who they are and enjoying it. And you say, well, you don't know any people like that, but show them. Because one of the ways of really experiencing this, and you have done it, I mean, you've done the experiment, now you know what it's all about. And you can show people, and you can go out, in the next half hour you could show half a dozen people, and you can't do it wrong. I would say to impose it on people is violence and chauvinism. Doesn't work, counterproductive. But when appropriate, share it with people.
Someone's interested.
And what a gift to give them. I mean, you've got the tools, like pointing, like the glasses, like
the only thing you have to do to show it truly to someone is to truly be there yourself.
Yes. Oh, you have to be there yourself while you're doing it, yes.
And yeah. I think the rest will just come.
And we have the techniques for doing it, and it is not difficult. Of course, what people do with it, that's another matter. It's not your business, is it? But don't you think that one of the ways of keeping this alive in yourself is to share it with people?
Yes, indeed. I think, Douglas, also that people are often a little deceived, I suppose, is the way, by the simplicity of this. That perhaps someone may see this and think, yes, well, this is an interesting experience or something, but it's so simple and it's really very matter of fact. I mean, I'm not having any great explosions of insight.
This is so important because people think, it can't be the genuine thing because I'm not having the most gigantic mystical experience. And this is not a mystical experiencing. It's not a peak experience. Because peak experiences mean that you have them and you can't regain them. It's just a one-off thing, and you can't lay them on. But this one you can always come back. It's a valley experience, nothing to do with feeling. A matter of fact, you can always come back to this. However dim, dark your mood, you can always come back here. And it is simple, available all the time, and there has to be simple to be effective. There's all those decorative experiences, mystical experiences, marvelous. But you want something plain, ordinary, available to come back to, and here it is.
Something you can count on.
It's not, you can count on it, and it's nothing to do with excitement and euphoria. It is really essentially a cool thing, isn't it? A cool thing. But I mean, come on, underneath the cool thing and facilitating, what does it facilitate? What is it conceal? What does it offer us? It offers us love, really. The love behind the world.
Yes.
The most intimate.
For me also, a great freedom, the only true freedom.
Freedom, yes. The unconditioned.
Unconditioned freedom. Yeah. And a kind of place that cannot be touched by anything.
Yes.
It's forever here and changeless and immense. And
so what we're on about then is not some newfangled, new age, funny old thing. We're on about the perennial philosophy, the thing which has been going for 2,000 or 3,000 years. And the heart of the matter is always the same, which is that who we really, really are is not a product of the world, it is the origin of the world. And that God is nearer to me than all else. And here's the temple of the living God. And all of the great religions that are very, very, very hard of them say this. So we're on to the old story, but we do have some new vehicles there. And these experiments and these tools that we've been doing, I think are a breakthrough. And I say they're worth developing. I mean, they are a breakthrough because they make what had been advertised to be so difficult and so esoteric, so complicated, requiring an enormous investment in time and pain and suffering, making it available now. Absolutely obvious.
Yes. So what we have, Douglas, in a sense, is we're coming really back to the where we started here, with the sense of foundation, of the simple, available, direct facts.
Yes.
And the tools that we've used in this workshop really themselves are very simple, direct, and lead us to just appreciate and see what's so.
And they're for you to develop. I mean, they're not of orthodoxy, are they?
There's no limit to them.
No, they need developing and using and improving. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Not to, in a sense, be deceived by that simplicity.
Yes.
And ordinariness.
I think we're terribly in the market for payoff. We say, I do this, what can you guarantee? Can you guarantee anything? Can you guarantee me health? Can you guarantee
good feelings?
A ripe old age, free from rheumatism and 1,000 other things? Can you, what can you guarantee? What can you guarantee? I don't think this is the, I think we just have to take what we get here, and we shall find it's full of blessing. But it's not the kind of blessing we put in an order for, probably. It's a different kind of blessing. And I mean, I'm rather tempted to say, one of the things I find is that when you remove the bung from your saucer, because it's your sauce, you take the cork out and throw it away. Well, it's not here, is it? No bung here. Why, then you are flooded with, I think, greater energies. And you're not expending this enormous amount of energy, hallucinating something here to tell people keep out, to keep people out with, and to make love difficult in your life. I mean, this is payoff, and it's naughty to speak like that, perhaps, but I certainly think it's worth looking to see if it doesn't happen to you. But I think the payoff is amazing, but it will be unique to you, and I don't think we can put in a kind of order.
No, it's quite unpredictable.
Very unpredictable. And so again, it's a case of wanting what you get and not getting what you want. But you see, this is your assimilation of your will to the will of God. And Dante, again, his will, or I might say her will nowadays, his will is our peace. And of course, this is power, because if you're saying yes to the will of God, things happen as you will, as you wish. So his position of power, paradoxically, of surrender of will, is the acquisition of the real will, isn't it?
Again, that comes back to trust, that thing of trusting to surrender to this and to what emerges from this. And again, I think we're not necessarily saying just go and leap off and without, take a step at a time and test this, and you'll find that, at least I've found, that I can surrender to this and I can count on it.
And it isn't an overnight cure.
It isn't overnight.
No, and we must be patient. After all, we built up some very bad habits, haven't we? Hallucinating this thing. You don't get rid of it overnight, and you say, well, you've tried out for a week and it doesn't work, so you try something else. I mean, you've got to give it more chance than that.
That's right. And it's important that to really, if I don't see who I am all the time, I'm not a bad person. I haven't failed. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that to again come back here and come back and test it.
Yes.
And it's not about doing it a lot or a little or measuring or assessing ourselves. It's about just coming back out of grace, out of curiosity, out of a risk to test it, and to keep coming back.
There's one very important point that we should touch on if we have time, and is this, that I think most of us are fairly hooked on improving ourselves as human beings and working to make some kind of perfection there of ourselves. I get, you know, halfway perfect, well, or at least very different from what we are now. We polish the old human thing up to meet with our ideal standard, if possible. And we work on that. And gosh, where does it get us? It takes us to old age and death, ultimately, doesn't it? And so it really kind of, really to break down in the end, this ideal of human perfection. And I think it's fair enough, we must have a go at it, but then I think we find, you know, it really isn't giving us an ideal that's so far. You feel you're further from this ideal, you know, after working at it for 20, 30 years. Well, the thing is, of course, that here, as who we really, really, really are, at our end of that tube, you know, at your end of that tube is perfection now. In fact, God's perfection. And Jesus said, when somebody said, good master, he said, don't call me good. Only God is good. So the goodness that we already have and the perfection we already have cannot be improved on. It's already there. And when we enjoy this and live from this, perhaps a little of the perfume of that will rub off on the little guy we see in the mirror. But a little. I'm not even sure of that.
Yes. It's not about being a better person, but in fact being the non-person.
That's right.
The absence of a person that is truly
here. Yes, that's right.
And let that one emerge as it will.
Yes. So keeping this up is a matter of interest and need, of having problems which bring us back. And if we want to do this, we will do it. And if we don't want to do it, we won't do it. And that's really as simple as that, isn't it?
Yes, and I think if we're sincere and, in a sense, earnest with this, you can't go wrong. You are inevitably led back to Him.
Yes.
I have for me, it's like following my heart's desire, because it's truly the very thing that I want.
I suppose that's the paradox. I mean, we take on this personhood, as you talked about, at a certain stage in life, and then we have this deep desire to return home, to return to our eternal home.
It's a prodigal son. Prodigal son coming home. And of course the joke is we never left home, really.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, we never left home. And another joke, another way of putting the same thing is everybody's doing it right. We're not saying got to reform yourself. I mean, maybe that's desirable. That's not what we're asking. I'm saying let's wake up to our blessing and then see what else needs doing. And perhaps the real reform is to wake up to your incredible central blessedness at this moment.
Simply located at this end of the bag.
Yes. So your end of that tube, as you know, that's a treasure. It looked kind of plain, doesn't it? Your end of the tube, so plain and ordinary and communal garden. And why it is communal garden, but what a garden. Oh, what a garden. Actually, it's a garden of the whole world. All the world flowers in that. It's full of the world, isn't it? I mean, look at it in this direction. Why, it is plain. Like soil, really. Look at in that direction, the bloom of the world. Yeah. And it's so beautiful. You know, the amazing thing is that we are so much more fortunate than we had ever suspected, aren't we? We're in luck, Maureen. We're in luck, God's luck. The lucky one, lucky strike. We struck lucky. Well, how should we sum up this? Well, what is the bring together all the we've done in the experiment? Can you give us something to remind us, a little slogan of some kind, to remind us to come back?
Well, in a way, the theme for me, Douglas, has been come back to basics, or the basic, come back to basic facts, particularly in the facts right here, and keep coming back.
Yes.
Keep coming back to the foundation. The foundation.
Yes.
For me, the question is who, at any moment, it's like who's looking, who's asking.
Yes.
And to pay attention, am I looking out, looking in which direction am I?
Or could you put it like this, Maureen? Look who's here.
Who's here?
Just to get 3 or 4 words. Look who's here. Would that sum it up?
That's a good one.
Look who's here. So could we leave that slogan with you? Look who's here. And here is your blessing. Our blessing, isn't it? What blessing. Amazing grace. Amazing grace. Look who's here. Well, thank you very much for joining us and having fun, and much more than fun.
Thank you, Douglas.
Well, thank our viewer, and thank you. Bless you.